Greetings, oh wonderful booktube and other YouTube people. Welcome to Michael Romeo Talks Books. I am Michael Romeo, and I do the talking about books. That being said, I'm so glad you're here. I'm glad you chose to spend some time with me. I know there's a lot of other things you could be doing, whether they're important or not. Maybe you just want to kick up and put your feet up and not be bothered with anybody, but still you tuned in to see me. That's awesome. That's just awesome. That makes you awesome too. Today's just a chat. Just a chat about what I've been reading, what I'm going to be reading. Haven't done this since beginning of June, so it's time for another one. You want to come up, honey? Come on. I'm being summoned here by the little girl. She wants to say hi. Hi there. Well, you getting jealous? Come on, you can come in. There's the Toffee and Tetley. Yeah, I don't know where. I think Toby, who usually is behind me here, is with my wife. She's in bed early tonight, and I think he's spending time taking care of her. So, what have I been reading? Well, since the last time we talked, the only two leftovers from then that I'm still working on is The Hermit of Eaton Forest by Ellis Peters, which is a book that my wife and I have been reading to each other. We read to each other from books all the time. Right now we're working on the Cadfile Mystery Series by Ellis Peters. You may have seen it on PBS or some other channel. It's a wonderful series, and the books are just as good as the television series. They're mirror images. They did such a good job of sticking with the book and not making up new plot lines and such. But the reason we're still reading it, because it's not a thick book, just pattern of life has happened, and we just haven't been reading to each other over the last couple of weeks, and we need to rectify that and get back into the habit. But we're still working on the Hermit of Eaton Forest, and last that I remember, we are at a very suspenseful moment in the story too. So we got to get back and find out what happens. And in addition to that, the only other book that I'm still working on, and I actually have not made any progress in it, is reading the Escoffier, the Snobbish Cookbook by Auguste Escoffier from the 19th century. I believe it's from the 19th century. 1903 was its original publication, so pretty darn close to the 19th century. 20th century, very start of the 20th century. My idea had been to keep it by my chair here, which I do, and when I had 15 minutes to take a break between household chores and just sit and rest my back a bit, read a couple of pages. Well, it's all well and good in intention, but the books I've been reading have been so good that I've not wanted to pick this up. I want to pick those up and read even just a couple of pages just to move on in those books. So Escoffier has been sitting here faithfully waiting for me to get back to it, and I will get back to it. I'll finish it sometime this century. I finished I finished, and I don't have the copy of it here. I don't know where I put it. I meant to have it ready here. Shane. I'll put up a little picture. I believe the author is Jack Schaefer. Read it for June on the Range. Really good book. Very enjoyable. I was just starting it at the time that I did the last chat video like this. And went through it quickly. It's a very short book. The plot itself is kind of cookie cutter. But the strength of the book itself is the characterizations. The characters are very well fleshed out. Uh, Very relatable, and just they make the story, because the story itself, if the plot itself is a typical Western plot. You know, guy with a past shows up in the town. Is he a bad guy? Is he a good guy? Going to tangle with people in the new town one way or another, whether it's for good or for bad. And then you find out that all is good. And anyway, don't want to do spoilers. What else did I finish? Finished. Bits and Pieces by Whoopi Goldberg. Very good book. If you are a fan of memoirs, celebrity memoirs, I definitely recommend this one. And even if you're not, she tells a good story about being brought up by a single mother, and it's her and her brother and mom. They're like the Three Musketeers, and growing up in the New York projects, and just the life that mother strived to create for the kids, who, rather than showing them that, being broke is always a losing game, she found ways to bring culture into their lives. And it made both Whoopi and her brother Clyde just much better people than they might have been had they just been left to their own devices, like a lot of project kids. And she did the best that she could as a single mom. She went over and above, to tell you the truth. And I found her mother very impressive. And it's so obvious that Whoopi Goldberg loved her mother so much. The book is generally about mom, but goes past mom's death to Whoopi's life beyond that. And it's a good book. It's called Bits and Pieces. And I'd highly recommend it. I believe I gave it 4 stars on Goodreads, if I remember correctly. So much for doing research for my content, huh? But anyway, I also finished Dies the Fire by S.M. Sterling. And I'm going to get back to this one in just a moment, because it ties into something else. Moving on with new reading. I'm currently doing a buddy read with Alan at Big Hard Books and Classics, and we're reading Cleat by James Lee Burke, and it is a quintessential James Lee Burke book. Just his writing style is so identifying. You pick up a book, it doesn't say who it's by. If you've read James Lee Burke before and you're reading this one, you go, this is James Lee Burke, because he has such a distinctive style. And this book is really good. Instead of being, most of his books are a mystery series starring his star character Dave Robichaux, who is a sometimes cop, sometimes private investigator, sometimes just wanting to get away from it all, but crime follows him. And his best friend in those books is Cletus Purcell. And this book is called Cleat. And instead of being from Dave Robichaux's point of view, it is from Cleat's point of view. He is the narrator. And it gives you not only somebody else's style of dealing with a mystery, because Cleat, as a private investigator, does things rather differently than Dave Robichaux does, but Dave is a character in it, and you see Dave Robichaux from another character's point of view, which you haven't had before through the course of the series. And it's a very well done exploration and I am exactly halfway through it, and really enjoying it. And I will do a little review on it when I'm done. And if I'm right, I believe Alan is also enjoying it from what he has said on our Voxer conversation. Um, so I mean, if you've never read James Lee Burke, I highly recommend you start because his books are riveting. They are just incredibly riveting. Start at the beginning. The first book in the Dave Robichaux series is The Neon Rain. Great place to start. It gives you a good background on the character and good introduction to what's coming up and all the rest of the series. So that being said, my next book is, after I finish Cleat, will be the result of the poll I did a couple of weeks ago. I put up a poll with 4 options and asked everybody's opinion of what they think my next read should be. And the winner was A Gentleman in Moscow by Immortals. I think that's how you say it. Tales? I'm not sure how you say his last name. My wife has read this book, and she really liked it. And she's told me a number of times that I need to read it. So I'm not upset that that's the book that got picked. Also, my friend Flossie at Grape Jelly Library has said it's a very good book. And she thinks it's one that I'll really like. I think she said it's like right up my alley or something like that. So I'm looking forward to that. And is it a chunker? Not quite a chunker. It depends on what you consider a chunker, I guess. It's 495 pages. So I usually consider a chunker 600 pages or more. I know some people do 5, some people do 4. So for some it's a chunker. For me, it's an almost chunker. And I'm really looking forward to it. Now, also coming up, after I finish Gentleman in Moscow, my next book is going to be The Protector's War by S.M. Sterling. And the reason I said I'll get back to this other book in a minute is because The Protector's War, is the sequel to Dies the Fire. So, it's book 2. I believe there's 12 books in the series. Something like that. It's in the teens. Book 2. And I'm really looking forward to it because Dies the Fire was an excellent read. Just an absolute excellent read. It's a slow burn, I will give you that, and it's a bona fide chunker. 573 pages, so even by my 600 page line for what is a chunker, it's pretty darn close. So yeah, we'll call it a chunker. But I've never read a book before that is quite like this in the care and the detail and the work that went into the world building for the story, while continuing to tell the story and continuing the classic, the characters and their development, and it is an excellent work. I was very impressed by it, and I am really looking forward to reading this one because knowing how this one ended, it's obvious that this was going to be the next book because he has set it up so well. This one takes place 8 years after this one. And it's got a lot of the same characters from reading the back, and some new characters. But it sets it up that a group in this book of megalomaniacs, led by the ultimate megalomaniac, is trying to. This is a post-apocalyptic world, um, and this one guy thinks he can eventually rule all of society, but he has to start small and move on in bits and pieces. And this is the start of his taking big steps, I guess. And I think it's going to be really good. I really do. Because, like I said, I saw how he used this book to set this one up. And I'm really looking forward to reading it. So I got to hurry up and finish Cleat and get through A Gentleman in Moscow because I am chomping at the bit for this one. So if you are into, it's not fantasy. I can't call it a fantasy. Stop chasing the cats. Sorry about that. The dogs decided to chase the cat. As I was saying, what was I saying? Something about those two books. Yeah, it's not fantasy. It's not fantasy in that, you know, you've got dragons and all this other stuff that fills fantasies, you know. There's not this race of dwarfs and race of hobbits and race of what are they, fairies? The elves is what they are. This is it's human beings fighting human beings, helping human beings. The whole premise of it is that during a storm over Nantucket Island, which is off the coast of Massachusetts, something happened that created this quick flash. And if you remember, there was a short-lived TV series that kind of went on this premise, and I think they stole it from these books. Anyway, this blinding flash that wiped out all technology and all, not just technology, but mechanical stuff stopped working. Guns would no longer fire. Engines no longer worked. Planes fell out of the sky. Cars wrecked on the highway because they suddenly just had no control. And what it left was a hunter-gatherer type living. I mean, that's the only way you could live now, is by hunting and gathering your food. There's also an agricultural aspect that he's built into the book, as people start their own farms, but it's even more than farms. This is real self-sufficiency type stuff. And he has built this new society in that book so well in Dies the Fire that it's just incredible. I mean, I find difficult the words to explain it, because it's so detailed and in depth. And you've got the good guys, you've got the bad guys. There's some real bad guys. There's some really gruesome bad guys. And people are fighting for their lives, and fighting for, in some cases, just for a existence that is livable among each other. Meanwhile, you've got this other guy, Aringer, who was in, I think that's his name, Norman Arminger, who in the first book is starting to set himself up as king of the world. And he has a mind that all he can see is what gives him power, what gives him strength, what gives him the next step forward. And whatever stands in his way will be taken care of in a not so nice way. And This is called The Protector's War. We're going to war. So it should be really interesting. Again, I'm rattling on about these books. Just they're really good. Start reading them. Also, while all this is going on audiobook, I'm listening to My Name is Barbara by Barbara Streisand. Barbara Streisand. This is Barbara Streisand's Stony End album t-shirt. Stony End is one of my favorite albums by Barbara Streisand. I've mentioned this before, I think, in some video recently. I've been a fan of her since I was 12 years old. I saw Funny Girl on TV and was just blown away by this woman. I was like, who is she? Mom, can I have her records? Are there any other movies, Mom? Because I want to see her. I just thought she was extremely mind-blowingly fabulous, and she still is to this day. And being a Barbara Streisand fan just makes sense that I read her memoir, listening to it, read by her, which adds a nice flavor to it, because you can tell when every now and then when she veers from the book to make a side comment, and you're going, I don't think that's in the book. Whoopi does it too in her book, Bits and Pieces. So I'm listening to that, reading Cleat, gonna read Gentleman in Moscow, and finally The Protector's War. That should take me through at least into August. Probably not through August, but into August. And probably at that point I'll be ready to do another one of these chit-chat type videos. So that's it this time. I've got more of my bookshelf tour. I thought you wanted to get down. That's right, you had to chase a kitty, didn't you? You know you're not supposed to chase kitties. You know that's the wrong thing to do. Yeah. So, stop it, okay? I love this little girl. She's my little baby. She weighs in at 3 pounds. She is just 3 pounds, and that's as big as she's going to get. That's as big as she's going to get. Well, she's bigger on the inside. Yeah, just like TARDIS. So, I was saying goodbye. Yes. Moving on, I'm going to be doing another bookshelf. I'm doing it by bookcase and shelf 1, bookcase and shelf 2, bookcase 1, shelf 3. Next one will be bookcase 1, shelf 4. And they work my way through my books, sharing them with you, how I got them, why I got them, why I read them, why I haven't read them, all that fun stuff. It makes for some long conversations, though, so I gotta learn to stop rambling and just shut up, like right now. I'm shutting up. Goodbye.